Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 231. How are you folks doing this week? I hope you're doing great. Thanks so much for stopping by. Also appreciate all the great emails this past week. Had a couple of really good conversations with you folks. I'm grateful for that. Also want to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera. That's bedfords.com. Those good folks just keep making things easier for us. They got some more product to me, and, I'm here to tell you, I think I got everything. All of a sudden, I need another, like this last week, an FTZ, and boom, call, zap, here it is. Now, since I use my name, I don't have to give them that special MOOSE code to save real money. And we all get the same great service, free shipping. You can't help but want to go and talk to these experts, get excited, get more gear. So that's Bedford's Camera. Thank you so much for supporting the Moose Podcast. Well, this podcast might sound a little different because I'm, in a few hours, going to be doing the pre-con there at the KLB1 Wildlife Photography Conference. Yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I got to set the stage. Kind of brings up and goes into what this week's topic's all about, also from one of the email conversations I had. And that's pretty simple. Faith in our uniqueness. As photographers, insecurity goes hand in hand with taking photographs. The insecurity comes from lots of things. But the main one is lack of faith in our own uniqueness, in that when we go out and shoot, even if we're by ourselves or in a group, no matter how many, it comes across our mind more than once. Are we taking a good photograph? Will people like it? That seems to be a big driving force anymore. And more importantly, if you're in the business, will the client be happy? And that faith in our own uniqueness is, for a lot of photographers, myself included, a lot of the time, point blank wanting. It's just not there, if at all. And why is that? Well, I had an interesting shoot this past weekend, and as you might imagine, I'm kind of used to driving my own shoots, as in I go to any location with pretty much preconceived ideas of what I want to come back with, as in I go to that place, be it for a critter or a landscape or aircraft, whatever it is, and I think that when I get back to the office, I'm going to have at least this one particular photograph, whatever it is in mind. And it's not one that's just sharp or it's got good exposure or good color. Those common, lame comments you see people put out there when they talk about your photograph. But I'm talking about photographs that really make me feel like I've been successful as a visual communicator. Ones that make me feel like they'll reach out and grab people's heartstrings. And not to be crass, but ones that will put a cha-ching in the old bank account, because that's really important. That you have to constantly keep pushing that forward if you're in the business. And this last one was what I call a kind of a pickup job, in that it was something I wanted to do. I've been wanting to do for months. It was not in it wasn't at the end of the deal. I was not going to be handed a check when I delivered photographs, but there is money to be made in this process. And it was simply to be winter. Winter was, you could say, the theme. And depending on where you are, if you're in Denver, you're getting nailed with winter as I speak. If you're up here in Montana, the snow is almost gone most places already. So it depends where you are, but I was up in Washington, and winter, I don't think ever really appeared in the Spokane area. So right off the bat, the challenge was to find winter, which means we had to travel quite a ways. And then the client had very distinct ideas of what they wanted in this photograph. And one of the challenges was, at least for me, is that reason was never told to me till after the fact. So I had to kind of like have faith in my own uniqueness that once we got underway and things were unfolding, that I would be able to make the photograph happen. And it had to be winter. And it wasn't until the very end did we find snow in winter. And that was the challenge. And in that, you question your whole ability as a photographer to deliver when you have that kind of that end goal that might not be in sight, that other people are pushing the buttons and you're just wondering, will I be able to even make lemonade, let alone have a fruit punch? So how do we get that faith in our uniqueness that we will actually prevail at the end? That's really important. I see a lot of photographers, especially right now, out there, I don't want to say grasping for straws, but they're looking for other means to give their photography credibility other than their own photography. They look for, I don't want to say gimmicks, but they kind of reach for items or elements or products or techniques that will work today but won't sustain them for the long run. That faith in their uniqueness isn't present, and that doesn't allow them the wiggle room for failure, and more importantly, really more importantly, the ability to learn from that failure. And that is how we build faith in ourselves and our uniqueness as photographers, is knowing that we can fail and still succeed, which is truly an oxymoron, which of course all of photography really is a, be honest with you, kind of an oxymoron. So how do you build that faith? Well, you've got to have, of course, that foundation not only in your camera gear and your techniques, but in yourself to, I guess you could say, take a deep breath. And when things go south, and they often do in photography, that is part of it, that you can pull out from it. One of my instructors back in the day at Brooks, he was an industrial photographer, worked with a lot of big clients where you had just the one opportunity to make something happen. The particular event going on, the experiment, the test, it was only going to be done once, and the results were, you had to get the results. And having that faith, I remember him. He got very excited in class, and he was very motivational. And he's talking about how one time he was just kind of totally toasted. He knew it's not going to work. And it just so happened that in his panic, he actually made a change that he didn't mean to make on his exposure. It was that simple. And he didn't realize it until after he developed the film, and then he saw that he actually got the shot. And in his panic, he realized that panic didn't work. If he had just listened to himself and not all the forces outside of him, he actually knew the answer. He actually knew the way to do it. If he just had a little more faith in his own abilities, he would have made the photograph. And I was always, that was hard for me to swallow, especially back when I was 18. But it is so true. Now that I'm in my 60s, I realize that, if you just take a second, it's really all it takes, and just take that deep breath and let all the noise that is happening around you just kind of fade. And I tell my friends it's a 10-2 moment that comes from fly fishing and your basics for casting. If you just take a second all those things that also start piling up in your head that really cloud that uniqueness that we all have inside of us. We actually have the information. We actually can make the photograph. It might not be the perfect photograph. In my book, I don't think I will ever take the perfect photograph. I'll take something I really like. But that process takes faith, and faith in ourselves. Now, what about faith in our uniqueness when it comes to camera gear? That question came up this week as well in some of the emails. If you read stuff on the web, which in itself takes a big giant leap of faith in my book. But anyway, you could all of a sudden be panicked that what you've got in your camera bag won't be around next week or next year. I remember it's been over a decade or so, maybe more, that everybody said that Nikon wasn't going to, have their RAW, and all of a sudden we need to do something else to have access to our RAW files. And of course, that never materialized. Like so many of the incredible fanciful rumors are out there. Bottom line is that faith in our uniqueness has to go to some extent to our camera gear. You have to be familiar enough with your camera gear to know what it can and cannot do, especially when it comes to being in your hands to tell your story. That faith has to go beyond other things that you might read about that you think you should be concerned about. It's, Ansel Adams was asked a long time ago, how many photographs does it take to have that great one? And he answered one. And that's really, I try to emphasize that to a lot of folks. When you go to share your photographs and your experience to somebody and you pull up that iPhone or iPad, how many pictures do you show them? A lot of times it's just one, right? It's just one. So when you think about it, you boil it down, having faith in your uniqueness is just often just that one photograph. That one photograph that you would have on your homepage, on your phone, or on your desktop of your computer, or that print over your desk at the office, that one, right? And when you make it simple and you boil it down, you probably have more faith in your own uniqueness than you realized. You probably have more than you need to move the ball forward. And I guarantee you have enough to be a successful photographer in whatever realm you choose to pick and go after. One of the biggest things when I talked to the folks about getting in the business, which I had a lovely email conversation with some of this past week, they were concerned that they would, especially in these current times, not make the money they need to be, pay the rent, buy camera gear, move the ball forward. And I said to them point blank, that's a good fear. That fear is what's going to keep you hungry. And staying hungry is what keeps you moving forward. And just have faith in your uniqueness that as you, try to feed that hunger, as long as you have that hunger, you'll surprise yourself. You'll make things happen you didn't think you could make happen. You just got to have that faith in your own uniqueness. Yeah, you could have 100 photographers next to you when you're out there taking that picture, but you are you. You have those experiences both from life and from your photography that go into that click, that help you tell that story. Just think how many people have done a knock-knock joke, right? And how many knock-knock jokes are there? Yet some people can present that knock-knock joke one way that makes you just laugh sideways, and then another person can do the same joke and make you laugh up and down. That's our uniqueness. That is what makes us, the photographers we are, that we can share this passion together and share this world with those who don't travel with a camera. So just remember, just have a little faith in your own uniqueness. Well, I got to cut this off. I have to get online and ready to present. You guys take care. Keep wearing that mask. Stay safe. And remember to make every click your story.